Okay, so hopefully music is a reasonable volume. Chances are, if you've made it here, you've already found the instructions and logged in, but as you can see, I am logged in as visiting agent, as one visiting agent, and we click here to read the instructions, and then be patient as they pull up, because sometimes they take a while. We're going to maximize for a moment. So, you've probably already found your way to the Discord, and hopefully you've taken the time to look over the Foundry basics if you need to, and you've found the sign-in sheet. If not, if you haven't, I would recommend hitting pause and going and doing that real quick, because this isn't actually that short. But once you've done all of that, we're going to create a character. So, step one is we need to come over here to the actors directory, which chances are you are just seeing this. So you come up here above the chat to the actors directory and click it. Then you will find this lovely cyan colored folder called Pathfinder Agents. You click that. And then you click the folder Visiting Agents. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm logged in as one visiting agent. So I want to click the actor one agent. And that opens said character sheet. And at this point, I don't need this bar, so I'm going to go ahead and hide it. You don't have to, but I want to make sure y'all can see as much as possible while we do that, while we go over this. And I'm also going to hide this section. But since we have time, which if you have of at least half an hour and would like to, go ahead and make use of the character creation guide, which will walk you through a full setup. So most, if not everything, on your character sheet will do all of your calculations for you. If you don't really have time, go ahead and use the roll and chat guide, which I will link a video to down below. But the first thing is actually we need to change the name of the character. That way people can see that this character sheet is in use, because otherwise, if someone else accidentally logs in as one visiting agent, they go over and go and might steal your character. And all of your hard work will have been for nothing. But once we have our character name set, we're going to add our class and race. So we're going to go ahead and start with race, which is under our character name right here. And the first thing we need to do is open the compendium browser, which is conveniently always going to be this lovely folder icon. And this came up really fast for me, but it may take a little while for you. Basically click the folder icon and then count to 200 before you start clicking again. And if you do that 3 times before, or do that 3 times before you manage to actually get, and if you do it 3 times and it still doesn't show up, then that's when you ask for help because something weird is happening. But it does sometimes have a slightly excessive amount of lag, especially if there's a bunch of people on. Because the server internet is not the best. But as we can see here, we have a bunch of different races that we can add, and even some sub-races. So something to note is over here, you can see which compendiums a race is in. And the races in the sub-races compendium are going to work a little differently than, or be set up a little differently than those in the races compendium. Such as, let's click dwarf, move that over, and I'm going to come down and open the elf compendium. So as you can see, they both have starting age and weight. But if we come down here to standard racial traits, you'll notice these lovely buttons that we can click on dwarf that don't exist over here on elf. So what these are these are your racial traits, and you can click them to read the race, and they will, and if you drag them onto your character sheet, like so, they will have the effect. As you can see, my land speed is now 20. And if we come over here to changes, you'll notice there's a lot more on elf than there is on dwarf. That's because on elf, all of the standard racial traits that can currently be accounted for as a change are listed under change. Whereas for dwarf, they're all attached to the racial trait that provides them, which makes it a lot easier to trade them out. And so not all of the races have been reconfigured and added to the sub-races compendium, because that is currently a work in progress. But Toph is a dwarf, so we're going to go ahead and add her race. And then I don't need this browser anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and close it. And next we need to add our class. So we're going to come over here to classes and click to open the classes compendium. Now, as you can see, I already have certain compendiums checked while others aren't. So unless you are playing a summoner and setting up the character sheet for your Eidolon, you don't need to check racial hit dice, because actually here, let's go ahead and show that. As you can see, that doesn't really give us anything particularly useful. That's actually for setting up NPCs. And since you're almost definitely playing a society game, you don't need mythic packs, so just don't bother checking those. Oh, and then character traits are for those traits that provide you with a bonus class skill. Those are still a work in progress, as you can see from how short this list is. But those are so don't worry about just yet. We'll come back to that later. So I'm going to not check that to make things slightly easier. Toph is a kineticist, so I'm going to drag the kineticist class onto the character sheet. And then I'm going to click normal, because she has favored class bonuses, which is the box that you get to select. And then I click submit and wait for it to finish processing. Then let's see what happens if I do that. Yay. Cool. Yeah, that does work. So then, because I put that I have 4 experience points, and therefore I have now leveled up, which, yes, I know that's incorrect. Hopefully it will be corrected by the time you show up. So I click level up, and it pulls up I can my favorite class bonus interaction again. And so I click hit point and submit. And now I am a level 2 kineticist, as you can see up here. Now, Toph is actually a kinetic knight, so I'm going to come up here and search for her archetype. And if you have an archetype, actually search for the archetype first. I happen to know that currently the kinetic knight is read-only, which is why it's in the archetypes text-only compendium. So what that basically means is, if you open up here, as you can see, there's description of all the things it does, which actually edit. Would you like to come up? Thank you. If you come over here, and you can see similar setup for kineticist, but if we come over here to the details tab, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of stuff filled out on kineticist that isn't filled out on kinetic knight. And that's what it means when it's when an archetype is in the archetypes text only only compendium. So I'm going to add this and click raw, which adds things as a level 0. And then I am level 2 kineticist and have it marked that I'm a kinetic knight so I can easily locate my things. So I'm going to close this. Now the next step is to add racial traits. So actually I'm going to leave that there. Add my racial traits. I'm going to go ahead and click over here so that I have this available. Well, since I do have a race added from sub-races. But then I'm going to come over here to the features tab, which, as you can see, I already have my class features. And because I added it earlier, I have slow and steady. Now, because I have these convenient buttons, I'm able to go ahead and go down the list and add all of the racial traits I have. Which Toph doesn't actually have hardy. She traded it out for unstoppable. So we are going at we will address that in a moment. And now that I've added all of the abilities that are listed here, I can go ahead and just click close. And then what we're going to do is come over here to the compendium, which a really nice thing is there is actually only one compendium browser for this entire page. So feats, class features, character traits, racial traits, and then any miscellaneous or things or templates are all going to be in a single compendium browser. And while we're waiting on that, I'm going to snag a bite to eat. Okay, so as we can see, there's all of these. So right now, all I want is my racial traits, which racial traits are still a work in progress. So as you can see, scrolling down, my unstoppable trait doesn't exist yet. So because I want to actually have it as a racial trait on my character sheet, I'm going to come over here and click the plus sign to create an item and then click edit. And here I'm going to put unstoppable. And I am going to come over up here and go to Nethys to get the text on the X for it, which you don't have to bother with any of this, but I need to do it anyways, and so I'm going to do that right now. And here's unstoppable, so I'm going to highlight all of that, and I would like to highlight that and copy. Then I'm going to come over here and click the edit button. And then I'm going to paste. And I care about formatting, so I'm going to bold that here and copy the link address. And then I'm going to highlight that so that I can make that a link. And then I'll click save. Now, what Unstoppable does is I get toughness as a bonus feat and a +1 racial bonus on fort saves. So I'm going to come over here to changes and click add change. And then my formula is a +1 bonus. It goes to saving throws. It is specifically to fortitude. And it is a racial bonus. So then that does all of that. Then I'm going to click back over here. And I also gain toughness as a bonus feat. So I'm going to uncheck racial traits. And I'm going to check feats. Or actually, I'm not going to bother because I'm searching anyways. I'm going to search for toughness. And here's toughness. So I'm going to drag it onto my character sheet. And then this is set up, so I'm going to close it. As you can see, it's right here. Now, I just got a bonus feat, so I'm going to click on bonus. Now, because toughness is listed as being in text-only feats, I'm going to come check on that so and see if it has any changes, which it does not. So what toughness does is I gain +3 hit points, but once I hit 4th level, I gain 1 hit point for each hit dice. So I click add change, and I'm actually going to pull this up for a moment because This is going to be, as I want to double check my syntax. So I'm going to come over here to help. Recollapse that, move that back over. And I'll probably edit most of this fiddly stuff out. And then I'm going to skip over to formulas so that I can double check. So min returns the lowest, max returns the highest. So I want max, and then I'm going to open and 3, because if I have 3 or less hit dice, I want to have 3 bonus hit points, comma, and then I need the appropriate function. So to find that, I'm going to come back over here and hover over here, and it is at attributes.hd.total. So I'm going to type that. And then I'm going to close parentheses. And this is adding to hit points, so I need to come over here and select miscellaneous. And then over here, I can select hit points. Let's go check if, yep, it's just additional hit points, so I'm going to leave that untyped. If you notice, I now have 20 hit points. If I select something else, I drop to 17. Whereas if I then go back to hit points, I have 20. Yay! So I'm going to close that, and chances are when you're watching this, it will no longer be in text only. But let's jump back over here. But that takes care of my racial features. So I'm going to move this up a bit so that I can snag it later. Click over here, and I screwed up in moving things, so I have to click back over here. But after adding racial traits, the next step is to add feats. Hey, conveniently, we're on the right tab. So we're going to come over here, and Toph's first level feat is endurance. So I'm going to search for endurance. And here's the endurance I care about, so I'm going to drag it onto my character sheet and let go. Edit. I will mess with that later, because that's going to be a bit more complicated. Alright, so that takes care of my feats, because I'm only the second level. So next up is add traits. So I tend to call these character traits, but they are called, are technically only traits. Only called traits, but they're in traits, text only, and character traits. And sort of like how with races we had the difference of subrace versus races, and how with feats we have the difference between feats, text only, and just feats. If it's in character traits, then it should do the thing it says it does on here, on your character sheet, if that is something that can be done. Whereas if it's in traits text only, chances are, then all it's going to do is provide you with said text. Now, Toph has Indomitable Faith and Reactionary, which conveniently are both in character traits. But if I recall correctly, nope. Yeah. let's add reactionary, please and thank you. There we go. But let's take bully for example. So bully gives you a +1 trait bonus to intimidate checks, and it's a class skill. So you can't add a change to make something a class skill over on a feature. I wish you could, but that's not a thing. But let's say Tough had bully, so I would drag bully over here. And then I would come over to summary and click classes and open up the class compendium. And I would click character traits. And as you can see, bully is listed. And it adds as level 0. But if you come over here to details, you will notice that if you come down, it gives you intimidate as a class skill. But I don't have the extra additional traits feat, so I only get 2 traits, so I'm done. Let's come back over here. After traits, we need to add our ability scores. So to do that, we're going to come up to the attributes tab. Oh, actually, need to add a note in there before we do that. So Toph doesn't have any of the ones that I have set up yet. But if you notice, there's this compendium called PFS boons. And what the PFS boons are is they are the boons that you can get as a PFS character. So, for example, Glimpse in the Future, because that's the first one. So I can do things. That's actually a bad example. Right. Okay, here we go. So Hero of Jalmaray gives me a buff, which we can see over here. And it lets it though. Sadly, this does not actually work the way it should. But we add this, and that notes for your GM that you've played that, as well as that you possess that boon. And that covers pretty much everything you would have to do on this tab. So I'm going to go ahead and close the features browser. And then we will go add our ability scores. So, as you can see, I have +2 to Con and Wisdom, and -2 to Charisma. So, there's this lovely thing called a point buy calculator down here. We click it. Now, because Toph is a society character, she uses high fantasy, which is 20 points. So, let me pull up on my other screen her ability scores. I just need to bump things up or take them down in some cases. That needs to go up one more. That's what I'm missing. And then I click confirm. And now you can see I have new ability scores. And these are her actual ability scores. Now, what's next? Add our equipment. So we're going to come to the Inventory tab, and like the Features tab, there is only one compendium browser for this. And now you get to actually see the loading bar. This will take a while. Make sure you can see it if it will help you be patient. If not, just try and be patient. The compendiums are very large. And we wait, and we wait. And I'm gonna time travel. Okay. So now we can see the items browser, which lets us pick our items. So let me pull up her inventory. The first thing I'm going to add for Toph is her spare weapon, which is her battle axe. So I'm going to drop that in. And then I'm going to add her armor and clothes, which she has studded leather and an explorer's outfit. So, and then Toph is medium, so these add correctly. There can be some weirdness, and you may have to change how much items weigh if you're not a medium-sized creature. She also has rope, and it is hemp rope that hopefully will be more identifiable soon. Then she finally has a Blood Ragers kit. Now, as you can see, her Blood Ragers kit, the Blood Ragers kit is in class kits, and its picture is of a backpack. However, let's try Cleric's kit. Okay, here. So, kit, clerics is in the items compendium, and its picture is of a chest. There are a lot of kits that don't have the correct weight. So if we come up here, a kit, clerics is 42.5 pounds. Which, if we come over here to net this and go to equipment, miscellaneous, kits, and scroll down to find the cleric's kit, you'll notice a cleric's kit is only 32, it's supposed to be 32 pounds. So if it's in the class kits compendium, then the weight has been corrected, whereas if it's in the items compendium, it has not. Other thing to note is there may be some items that just don't exist. As of when this is being recorded, we don't have most of the items from Ultimate Equipment, but as with everything else, it is a work in progress. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Next up, we need to create our attacks and then update them as needed. So we're going to come over here and click Edit on the battle axe and go to Details and scroll down until we can see this wonderful Create Attack button. And then we'll click it. And it's going to take a while, and I don't know how visible. Oh, there it is. Not really visible, but actually, let me shrink this so that people can see. And I'll do some clipping later. Okay, but let me shrink, e-ink, and click over here. We're going to create a tag. And we'll wait. And as you can see, they have now created an attack for battle axe. So we can close this. And I'm going to make this big again. So then if we come over here to combat, we now have a battle axe attack. I'm going to click edit. And if we come over here to details, we have some checkboxes. So I'm proficient, so that's checked. If it's masterwork, you need to check this box. If you check it over an inventory, it will also apply. You can add enhancement bonuses. You can make adjustments to your attack. If you were to, say, create a natural attack, you would click add extra attack. And that adds an additional attack. But I'm going to close that. But that is our fancy combat. And next we need to add our skill ranks. So we're going to come over here to the skills tab. And let me pull up her skills. Okay, so Toph has a rank in Intimidate. And scroll down. I know she has 2 in Perception. And where did her other rank get shoved? In Stealth. So there's her rank in Stealth. And if you come over here, you notice we can hover, and suddenly we can see this wonderful little dialogue box that sadly I can't move my mouse to point at. But it shows us all the different things that add up into our modifier. Next up, add spells. So Toph doesn't actually have spells, but we're going to pretend she did. So we're going to come over here to settings, and all of this, don't touch. Like, there are technically things that you might need to touch, that might make you need to mess with it, but that is weird enough that chances are you don't need to. So then we're going to come up here to primary, and as you can see, now we have a spells tab. So we're going, and if you have spell likes, then you would click the spell likes tab, which actually I'm going to uncheck primary spells. So then we can come to gear, and if you notice, for spellcasting class, I can choose my hit die, none, or one of my classes, and I can choose an ability. And there's a bunch of other things over here. Basically, don't worry about this for spell likes. And for spell likes, we would also click spontaneous. I don't know why it's not auto-checked. But we're going to uncheck spell likes and check primary instead. We come over here, and so we can, again, same process, and we pick our spellcasting ability. So I'm going to choose Con. If you have a different arcane spell failure than normal, you need to pop that in. I'm pretty sure that they do automatically pull your arcane spell failure already, but you can blame me if it turns out I'm wrong, because I don't actually play casters. So if you have automatic spell slots, it's checked, you don't actually need to worry about this unless you have additional bonus spell slots other than the ones you get for a high ability score. And you can give your spellbook a name, such as, let's name this Fake Spells. And then check away. And look, now my spellbook is named Fake Spells. If I come over here and check secondary, you notice there's multiple tabs now. So, automatic spell slots, so what that does is it automatically sets these up for you. Well, partially sets them up. Arcane spell failure will give you your arcane spell failure roll. And society doesn't care about spell points, so I'm going to close that. If you have a bonus to concentration checks, put it there. If you have a general caster level bonus, add it right there. You can also roll a concentration check here, if I'm not mistaken. Let's move that over and find out, because I'm pretty sure that's what that does. Yep. So, ta-da, there's your concentration check. No, it doesn't give you the DC. But to set our total number of spells, so let's say I have 3 first level spells I get to prepare, not including my bonuses. So if I click down here, you'll notice it changes itself to 4. So I can then click over here and change that to 4, I think. Normally it lets me. But let's go ahead and open the spell browser to add spells. Okay, so I'm going to add Mage Armor so we can demonstrate spells. Same thing as with everything else, you can just search for your spells. So this is how many Mage Armors I prepared today. So if I say I prepare 4, and I still have 4 prepared, and then I can click cast, and we're going to self-roll that so it doesn't show up for anyone else. It drops down to 3. Now, if I come up here, and let's say I'm a spontaneous caster, you'll notice this turned into a gear, which doesn't do a whole lot, but let's check that. Or it does. It tells you whether or not a spell's prepared, so if you're sort of a hybrid caster. And then I know mage armor, so then I use spell. Let's roll itself, roll that. And now I only have 3 first level spells I can cast. But let's go uncheck spells because Tough isn't really a caster. And then the next one is adjust our attributes, which is basically just, hey, go finish fixing this page. So I am a medium-sized creature. Tall versus long doesn't matter because I'm not large. As a dwarf, I have dark vision. I did add the dark vision feature earlier over here, which that doesn't actually do anything, at least as of when this video was made. And nor does putting dark vision in here. We will mess with that on my prototype token. Hopefully eventually we will get that set up so that it can actually make those changes. And I don't have any resistances or immunities, so I get to skip all of this. If you do, you need to put them in. I do, however, actually speak languages. So I'm going to click the edit button, and we get this really long list. And I speak Common and Dwarven, and that's it. However, let's say I spoke Russian. So I put Russian there because Russian isn't on the list. And then after I've checked and added any languages, which actually I do a semicolon, and then let's say Korlu is the other language I speak. So then I click update actor, and now I have these lovely little tags. But part of why I pointed out the using semicolon is, let's say I did that. It treats Russian and Korlu as one word. So then I'm going to come over here and get rid of that because I don't speak either of those languages. Next up is to edit speed if needed. So we're going to come back to summary. I do in fact have a land speed of 20 and I don't have any other speeds. So I'm not going to mess with that. Next up, we need to add character art. So to add character art, we're going to click on here, and that opens up the image browser. Do not add your character art directly here, please. Please. If you do so more than about 20 minutes before the game starts, you do run the risk of your art will just disappear because it either got moved or deleted. So where you get to add character art is you're going to come up here to this lovely folder called Images and click it. And then click on Character Art. And there are all of these wonderful pictures as you can already see. But let's say you already have your character art. You're going to click Choose File. And I don't know why I bothered clicking that. I'm not going to actually upload something. Actually, yes, I am. I'm pretty sure I have something. I don't mind showing up in there. We're going to come over here, go to Pictures. Come on. Tokens. Art. Sure. We're going to click on that. So So then you notice it's right there, and we wait. And now it says no file chosen again, but there is something here. So wait until selected changes to images / character %20 art / whatever the name of your file is before you click select file, because otherwise it's still uploading. However, if you don't have art, the best place to look for art is down here in token pack, because this is just random art. So, and then what we're going to do in here is we're going to come over here and click tile view so we can actually see the pictures. So as you can see, there's a bunch of tiles here. And then if we come up here, there's even more tokens. And all of these are just tokens that you are welcome to use. So I'm going to search for dwarf and wait. And this looks like good art for her. So we're going to select file, and now Toph has character art. So at this point, we need to set up our prototype token, the instructions for which are in the prototype token guide, which I will link down below, and I will try to put right about here, words. I will try to put it somewhere so that it can become easy to click to. But congratulations, you have now created a character. And that only took me a goddamn hour.